widespread in societies. Social justice is not an individual matter because many of us agree on certain principles of social justice and apply them in concert to certain events and developments in our societies. The second problem with the concept of social justice relates to its being undefinable, to its being, different in different cultural environments. As the history of sociology shows, the principles of social justice can be formalized and can be applied to different environments. They can be developed so as we study social justice in the BRICS states. And this is my second claim. So what is the social justice? How can we formalize the concept? Well, it's a whole encyclopedia and a whole history of sociology that we have to go into now to define social justice and various approaches. But I'll try to be as brief as possible. Social justice is not a new term. It's not a modern term. It actually came up in the philosophical discourse of ancient philosophers, of Plato and Aristotle. They were the first to come up with their own definition of social justice, and most of you remember Plato's Republic, in which the problem of social justice, the issue of social justice, came up as a key problem of society, of interaction between humans. And there, the Socrates, the Plato, tried to give his own definition of social justice. He rejected the definition of social justice according to which justice is everything that is good for the powers that be. But he suggested his own definition, which was no better than that. He said that justice is an immutable state of things, an ideal society in which every person, every individual occupies his or her niche, in which every citizen enjoys the privileges of belonging to a certain stable social group. It's a society of the boundaries, social boundaries that cannot be transcended. Aristotle came up with a different definition of social justice. For him, social justice amounts to a citizen being able to express his or her own political leanings, political affiliations, of being active, of being able, on a par with other citizens, to participate in the running of society. So the society can be just if all citizens participate as political animals in the running of society. Society is just when the elites change, rotate, and when those who are in power come down and become ordinary citizens, being replaced by other people who rise to the top and rule societies. That was his idea. Hence come the basic definitions of social justice that persist up to the present day. In spite of all the discussions and changes, we still uphold in the main points, in the core, the same approaches to social justice. Currently, social justice is more often than not defined in three ways. First of all, as distributive justice. Justice that is applied in society to distribute goods and services equally between citizens. The second possible approach to social justice is the justice of equity. Equity being us contributing to society and receiving an equal portion of society's goods and services as payment for our contribution. So this is equity. And then there is the meritocratic justice. Meritocratic justice being the justice about which Aristotle spoke a lot. The justice as being society that gives preference to the best, to the elites, to those who possess exceptional qualities, capable of running modern society. So these three basic definitions of justice coexist in the present discourse of the problem. So But all these definitions that can be easily shown intersect and crisscross at certain points. For instance, distributive principle, the principle of equal distribution, may also violate the principle of justice, because it does not account for the merit, it does not account for the qualities that a person possesses. The equity principle, but then there is a problem of measurement of how we contribute to society and what we get from it. And then there is another problem with meritocratic justice. Meritocratic principle can also be problematic, because merits can easily be inherited from one generation to another. The elites can pass some of their resources, some of their capitals to their offspring, thereby also passing to them certain merits with which they can top society, top the social ladder. So this meritocratic principle can also violate the principles of justice. So justice appears at the intersection of these three basic principles, emanating as a combination of all three principles applied in concrete policies. Justice is, of course, influenced by the position of the individual. It is obvious that the individuals have, that young people tend to support meritocracy over the problem of distributive justice, while older people, pensioners, retired people, tend to be supportive of the distributive principles because they are no longer capable of showing their merit, of competing with the young. The social justice is also different for different classes. Nevertheless, it is important that society creates a certain framework within which it can agree on certain principles of social justice and turn them into social policy. So, one more important thing is that social justice principles do not exist as simple philosophical guidelines for society. They are implemented through social institutions. Social institutions can only function if they are trusted. So social justice and the problem of trust are interrelated within the framework of social institutions. Hence comes the procedural aspect of justice. A lack of trust undermines the perception of justice and destroys legitimacy. And I can give you one example of the Russian privatization process. Those who privatized the Russian economy at the beginning, at the early stages of the Russian reform, did not care about the justice. They thought that they would create a viable market economy, distributing property to those who were close to them. Hence comes the name of Russian capitalism, the crony capitalism. They gave large assets, formerly owned by the state, created by the entire society, to the few. They hope that these few people will be able to develop the Russian economy. However, the principles of justice were violated. And then came the illegitimacy of the institution of property in Russia. And this stalls development. So development is also dependent on the way we perceive social justice, because social justice is a way to legitimate the existing social relations. So, I don't have a lot of time here. There is a lot of social justice is also related to the problem of equality of inequality. And this is the problem, as I tried to say yesterday, is perennial in all BRICS societies. And this is one of the problems that we should study and examine its relations with the perception of social justice. So the main assumption of what I want to say is that we must study social justice because it's important. It's important for society, it's important for institutional framework. We must find common outcomes that relate to definite structural positions that our countries occupy in the global framework. Thank you.
Professor Mikhail Chernysh, who has also raised important issues and I think challenging problem of dealing with perceptions and individual perspectives on social justice is something we should talk more on this issue later. So I will introduce you Professor Gao Bingzhong, who is an anthropologist, director of the Center for Civil Society Studies in the Beijing University. He has been a visiting scholar in different universities like the University of California, of Hawaii, among others. And he has published many books. I just highlight folk studies and civil society. And I also want to stress that he has done an amazing translation work in China. And he has translated many books, anthropological texts, important anthropological texts, into Chinese. His paper, title, this, yeah, you have changed it, so, but you have it there. Professor Gao.
Good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, I want to say thanks to Professor Gustavo Ribeiro. And we are very happy here and for the beautiful environment, luxury hotel, and delicious food. And I think you have set up a very high standard for our future conference. And I think I'm here just for learning to do BRICS studies. And for anthropologists, I think it's just in the very beginning to do BRICS studies. And some years ago, and Professor Gustavo Ribeiro and other professors called for a new direction to develop anthropology, and the name web anthropologies, the plural anthropology. And I was called by this direction, and we also have